MAP4C 4.5, the use and misuse of data. So what we're going to do is assess the validity of a conclusion in a statistical survey. We're going to learn some tools that we can use to assess that validity. First of all, we need to reflect on the relationship between a population and a sample. A population is everyone who could potentially be included in a questionnaire or a survey, and a sample is what the surveyor will select in order to represent this population. So when assessing the sample group from a statistical survey, think, was the sample size large enough? So it's not based on the number of people in the sample. Think of it as, what is a reasonable percentage of the population that should be included in the survey to be able to draw a conclusion based on this sample? So this refers to the number of people included, but also who is included. Was the sample representative? If your sample is collected in a non-random way, in some way that might have people being selected that have specific characteristics that are similar, that aren't as proportionately represented in the population, then this sample is biased. It has characteristics that are different than the actual population. So assessing the survey, was the survey question biased? So if there is a positive or negative fact attached to the question that would persuade the respondent, then the results are not valid. Was the sampling method appropriate? So the way that this sample is selected might create those biases, and we need to be aware of that. Assessing graphs. The appearance of data may be misleading when presented using different dimensions. Both represent the same information, however, the 3D model appears bigger. So if you look at this sector, this looks larger because it's on this face, and this overhead view represents the relationship between the different age categories in a less biased way. An axis break is a disruption in the continuity of the values in an axis. So this is a line break right here, if it does not start at 0. Now in this case here, it does not indicate the line break, but it's obvious that it's there. Both represent the same information, but the graph in part 2 appears to increase at a faster rate because of the break in the y-axis. So because we see the majority of the y-axis here, just talking about this segment here, the rate of change appears more gradual than this right here. The slope appears higher. But that feature of a graph can be misleading or create the illusion of a rapid change in growth. So a valid conclusion is one that is supported by unbiased data that has been interpreted appropriately. Use the tools that we discussed earlier to be able to assist you in determining whether or not a survey sample is appropriate and the group is representative. So assessing the validity of a conclusion, ask these questions. Are the data reliable? Is there a possible bias in the person analyzing the data? Is the correlation strong? Is there any evidence to support a cause and effect relationship? Does the graph represent the data appropriately?